Before the clubs, the platinum records, and the global takeover, there was a rhythm, raw, rebellious, and born far from the barrios of Puerto Rico. Reggaeton's roots stretch back to the streets of 1960s Jamaica, where reggae pulsed with offbeat guitar strums, deep bass lines, and the voice of resistance. This is where the story begins. As Jamaican reggae spread through the Caribbean diaspora, it found an initial foothold in Panama. Jamaican and Antillean workers who came to Panama during the construction of the canal brought their culture and music with them. By the late 1970s, their children and grandchildren in Panama were not only listening to reggae, they were making it their own. The Red Devils of Panama. Former school buses painted in bright colors became mobile discos that thumped with reggae and dancehall through huge speakers. In the late 1970s, young Panamanian DJs and MCs would get on these buses and improvise over Jamaican rhythms, initially in Jamaican patois and later in Spanish. What the unsuspecting passengers did not know was that they were witnessing the birth of a new musical movement. By 1977, Panama saw the birth of its first reggae songs performed in Spanish, with local DJs like Guasabanga helping to grow the new musical genre. In those early days, Panamanian pioneers like Leonardo Renato, Alder, and Edgardo El General began translating Jamaican dancehall hits into Spanish, often singing over the original reggae rhythms. They preserved the infectious rhythms, sometimes even speeding up the rhythms, but changed the lyrics to Spanish, giving rise to what became known as Reggae en Español. The movement grew during the 1980s, echoing Bob Marley's call for unity, but in the language of the Panamanian neighborhoods. One of the most famous songs from that early stage was Tu Pun Pun by El General, released in the late 1980s. El General's charisma in toasting, singing, rapping in Spanish over dancehall rhythms turned the track into a big hit that even reached audiences in the United States. Also, for the first time, a Spanish reggae song was playing strongly on American radios and clubs, showing that this new fusion had broad appeal. Spanish reggae from Panama laid the foundations, the fundamental rhythm, upon which reggaeton would be built. But how did these Panamanian reggae vibes jump to Puerto Rico to evolve into a completely new genre? That journey begins in the underground scene of Puerto Rico in the early 1990s. In the early 1990s, the sounds of reggae in Spanish from Panama and dancehall from Jamaica began to filter into Puerto Rico, colliding with the island's growing hip-hop scene. Artists like Vico C had already shown that rap in Spanish could resonate deeply with Puerto Rican youth. Now DJs in San Juan were mixing the infectious rhythms of reggae with the beats of hip-hop, creating a new powerful sound that pulsed strongly in the housing projects, the public housing of Puerto Rico. Back then, the scene had no name. Locals simply called it underground or perreo, referring to the raw and provocative energy that defined both the music and the accompanying dance. At the center of this movement were two pioneers, DJ Playero and DJ Negro. DJ Playero, known for his mixtapes in the late 1980s, began to fuse rap in English and Spanish with reggae rhythms. By the early 90s, it already included local rappers spitting verses in Spanish over dancehall beats on tapes like Playero 34 and Playero 37. These low-budget recordings, made in his living room, spread like wildfire, passing hand to hand on cassettes through the neighborhoods of Puerto Rico. The street was hungry for that sound, and Playero delivered it. Meanwhile, in Old San Juan, DJ Negro opened a club that would become legendary: The Noise. It was one of the few places where this new underground sound could flourish. Inside, the speakers boomed with dembo, and the microphone passed from one aspiring MC to another. Names like Don Chesina, Baby Rasta, and Gringo, DJ Nelson, and a young Ivy Queen honed their skills on that very stage. But as the music gained popularity, it also attracted the attention of the authorities. The Puerto Rican government saw the underground scene as dangerous, blaming it for crime, vulgarity, and rebellion. In the mid-90s, the police conducted raids on music stores and confiscated mixtapes. Owning a reggaeton tape could cost you a fine or even land you in jail. It was the peak of the so-called anti-perio offensive. Even so, the movement kept advancing. Playero continued distributing his tapes, quietly but without stopping. And DJ Negro, always strategic, released The Noise 3, with completely clean lyrics to evade censorship. When the police came for the explicit albums, The Noise 3 was still on the shelves and sold out. Negro's vision paid off. In 1997, he signed a distribution deal with Sony Music, which helped launch Ivy Queen's career and gave reggaeton its first glimpse of the commercial stage. As in the late 1990s, the sound had evolved. It was no longer just a fusion of genres. It was something new with its own name: reggaeton. The term used by young artists like Daddy Yankee in Playero's mixtapes captured the essence of what the genre had become: a Puerto Rican evolution of reggae, raw, authentic, with its own identity, voice, and fire. Reggaeton had survived police raids, censorship, and the skepticism of the music industry. By the early 2000s, the foundation had already been established. A new generation of artists, many of whom emerged through DJ Playero's mixtapes or DJ Negro's Club, was ready to bring reggaeton to the masses. The genre was already hugely popular throughout Latin America, but the rest of the world still saw it as a niche Latin urban sound. That changed in 2004, when a catchy song with an irresistible rhythm shook global pop culture. Gasolina propelled the global rise of reggaeton and set the stage for the genre's international explosion. Suddenly, even listeners who didn't speak a word of Spanish found themselves singing the chorus of Gasolina. The song became an immediate favorite in clubs around the world, from the Diablos Rojos in Panama to the neighborhoods of San Juan, and now to every corner of the planet. Reggaeton has become much more than a genre. It is a cultural movement. Its story is still being written. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment below telling us what you would like to learn next.